agreement. They weren't unhappy, evidently, with the economic terms of the agreement, but they were unhappy with a kind of a loophole in there about playing on artificial turf. And there's aspirational language in there of the type that is that said that they would, the federation, I guess, would attempt not to have them play on turf too much, but it wasn't hard and fast language. And lo and behold, they were suddenly forced in a very short period of time to play a number of times on turf. And that, to me, gets changed right away because under my regime, the women will only play on turf as much as the men, or put another way, the men will play on turf as much as the women. And my hope in both cases is it's 0 times. I hate turf, hated playing on it, more injuries. My older son, when he was a U15 development academy player, played 30, this is the way it is in the Northeast here, 31 out of 32 games on turf, and at age 15 in the spring,
oh, that's awful.
the end of that season, he had an L5-S1 bulging disc and almost had to have major back surgery at age 15. And there's no other reason, there's no other reason I can think of but him, because he had no congenital issue, other than turf causing it. So my belief is that that's what it did. It did it, and I don't like turf. So
right.
There's common ground there. That's going to be changed right away. Per diem, travel benefit, all that kind of stuff has to be made equal right away. So that's
right.
number one. Otherwise, in terms of the women's game, actually, let's not just about the women's game. Let's talk about women, right? It's going to be equalized. This game is heavily represented by women. So, but there aren't enough of them in the executive capacities. There aren't enough women. In front offices, there aren't enough women who are DOCs of youth clubs. All of that stuff should be addressed, so much so that little girls who play soccer should be able to aspire to either be a player or a coach or an administrator in this game, just like little boys can.
Mm-hmm,
and that stuff will definitely be equalized. The other thing I would say in particular with regard to NWSL, I represent it on many matters, not solely the Boston Breakers, and so I know that league well, and I've represented a player for the Breakers. I think U.S. Soccer needs to support that league more. We're losing players. We just lost 2 the other day to foreign leagues, to France and other places, and we need to make sure that this is the league that women want to play in, and I think U.S. Soccer can support this league more financially, and it should. And I heard that U.S. Soccer has approximately $4 million in the bank from the A&E deal, and some of that should be used to help this league some more, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100%, Steve. I mean, we talk about the women's game, but I think there's so much potential for it to be so much better, especially in NWSL. I think it just needs a little bit of help, a little bit of push in the right direction to end up being at the top. I mean, we did see many, like you said, many players leave for foreign leagues, and I mean, they seem to enjoy it more there than they do here. So, I mean, I think it has to be a priority to make this a destination spot of sorts.
Right. No, I totally agree. And we need to have these women, feel like they're really professional, and we need to get the quality of the game up. And so I think there's got to be a bigger commitment than there is. I mean, I got to salute the Federation for devising the league and all that kind of stuff, but now it's time to step up with some more to prop it up, firm it up, I should say.
And this is the last question. The letter that you had sent out, why did you originally write it, and what are you trying, or what are you hoping the letter does?
What letter's that? I'm sorry.
Was it about 2 months ago, Armand? No.
The oversight. The oversight. It was about a month ago.
Oh yeah. No, it was a few weeks ago. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, there've been a few letters that that have seen public airways, and there have been some that haven't. So, first of all, that was not my letter per se. That was a partner of mine. So it was not under my name. was not in my name, but it was definitely a partner in my law firm. Look, what's happened here is there have been 3+ rule changes midstream in this election. And that's another example of how a nonprofit should be run.
Right.
But I have very seasoned, campaign people as well. And one used to be Ted Kennedy's press secretary, and he's chief strategist for a Massachusetts congressman named Seth Moulton, who you'll hear a lot about. And, he and my campaign manager say to me, they've never seen an election like this, ever. And this is what they do. For me, it's all a case of first impression. You ought not to make rules up on the fly, not be able to answer questions pertaining to an election when you're asked to say, we'll get back to you on that. You have to have election rules in place. And so when I was sitting at my desk working at 3:30 on a Saturday, whenever that was, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and got a stunning articulation that went to all candidates about another rule change, like it seems like they're making rules on the fly. I think a lot of people on my campaign team said that this is just not appropriate, and it's not professional. And so it's not accusing anyone. It's just a question of whether they're used to having uncontested elections, whether they're prepared for this. So we think that, and now all these other candidates agree, right? They've jumped on with their own letters.
Right.
That professional, independent oversight is called for here, and not just during the weekend, but ultimately for the whole campaign, the rest of the campaign. So that's all we were saying. We're saying, look, let's make sure that the candidates and all the voters, and the public and the media can have faith in this election. That's all. It's not making an accusation. It's that you guys need help. Please admit you need help, and let's do this. Make sure do this right.
And we just want to wrap it up with you, Steve. First off, just want to thank you for joining us again, taking the time out. You're busy. I know you're busy as hell, but thanks.
We're in the last month, so it is crazy. But I really wanted to do this for you guys. You're good guys, and it's my pleasure, and I appreciate you taking the time as well, because I'm sure you're talking to a lot of candidates, and for all the voters. I mean, when I first announced this in February, it looked like it was going to be me and the incumbent, and it was going to be 2 candidates, and now the incumbent's not running, which is extraordinary change. 7 months later, 8 months later, but we actually, what is it? 8 months later, but we have 8 candidates, shockingly, and so I think it's trying for everyone, including the media like you guys, and including the voters. So I appreciate everything you're doing as well.
Absolutely, Steve. And again, I want to thank you for joining us. And over here, we actually do a shameless plug, so you can plug away with everything. Just plug us where we can find you, where you can find your message, all that good stuff.
Oh, sure. Okay. So my website is www.stevegans2018.com. My Twitter handle, not that I tweet all that much. I'm not as prolific as Eric, I can tell you that. But I don't have that facility with Twitter. But at Steve Gans 2018, it's STEVEGANS 2018. Those are the 2 things. And very much appreciate it, guys. And I look forward to hearing this when it comes out.
Great. Well, thanks again, Steve. Very insightful, and we appreciate it.
Thanks. I appreciate it as well, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
You too.
No, Armand, I would say this was definitely somebody who I am very intrigued by. I'm not going to throw my support towards any candidate. I will be somebody who tries to analyze them all equally, all fairly. Our invitation is open to all. Hope Solo, Eric Ronaldo.
Yeah, I want to establish that. Hope Solo, Eric Ronaldo, Cal Martino, Weingard, Caligiuri, Kathy Carter. I would love to have Kathy Carter on the show and discuss.
Yes.
With her. I mean, I feel like we do talk about her relationship with MLS and some in USSF, but I want to hear it. I want to hear it from her mouth. So
and we're not, like I said, we're not trying to throw our support towards anybody. It's really trying to individualize each candidate to see what their platform is. Because it's one thing to put a tweet out, right? It's 100, 200 some characters now. Don't know what the number is, but
280 fool.
280. It's not going to tell you anything about their candidate. You can talk about, I'm going to run a transparent. You know how many politicians talk about change and transparency and blah blah blah? Welcome to Politics 101. That's what you're supposed to say. Right?
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree 100%. But when we talk to Steve, I think he is a very intriguing candidate, and I think he's hoping potentially. I mean, especially with the development front. I mean, it's an issue that hits home with us because we grew up with kids who did not like playing in the academy, who ended up dropping and just going to high school, and they had to make that split decision.
Yeah, that was something I took away, was the joy. And I never thought about it because I always thought you wanted to play for the academy. It was the best, right? But kids sometimes will do things out of just sheer joy. Like, if they don't enjoy it, it doesn't matter how talented they are. If they don't like it, they're going to drop.
Also, that point about playing in front of fans was a really interesting point. I had never thought of it that way, to be honest with you.
I will argue is what high school has a couple hundred people show up for a soccer game?
I mean, I think we had that a couple
the playoffs
4 years ago at Liberty. In playoffs.
But on a nightly basis, and then that'd be
kind of fun.
That'd be fantastic. I wouldn't disagree there. I would like to have press more on the college issue in the development because like I said in the interview,
I feel like it's an afterthought right now.
No,
you know
it is.
Saying? Like it hasn't been talked about by many candidates. Even though we all have its gripes, we all have our gripes towards the college system. I don't know. I don't think it's really a priority when it comes to the current issues that the U.S. soccer has.
Well, and it's the first time where I can separate the candidates and their message. The first, I know what Steve Gans' platform is. Now, we know some areas more so than others, but it's at least we have a ballpark to play with, and then it's just not some shot in the dark with all these candidates, right? We can separate them because what's Kathy Carter's message compared to Eric Wynalda's? Well, Wynalda's big on the promotion relegation, but what else is he going to do? And what is Kathy Carter going to do to change, right? Why is she going to be – why are they the candidates the ones? And remember, they're not asking for our support or our votes. We have nothing to do. What we want to do here is expand and at least allow the public to know what is going on.
No, exactly. I mean, we are not pushing for any candidate. We are not saying, "Oh yeah, we'd like to see this candidate."
Nor are we getting financial support by any of these candidates to promote one thing.
Man, if you give me financial support, I will promote you 100%. No, we don't get paid for any of this. But at the same time, we do want to provide clarity for us and for the public. We do know it's a little confusing. Sometimes the messages do seem the same outside of a few changes here and there, and
a couple of tweets, really.
What I noticed is, I mean, if we get Wynalda on this show, maybe we'll spend more time talking about promotion and relegation. With Gans, we seem to talk more about
the youth.
The youth. You start seeing distinct differences between each candidate. And I find it very fascinating in election where there's like 8 candidates and you don't know who's doing what or what's going on here and there, and hopefully we can continue to give you guys these interviews because they're really fascinating in my opinion.
Yeah, I want 100%, and I can't thank Steve Gans enough for spending an hour with us talking about these issues. It
was an hour. Whew. I couldn't believe it.
I'm sure he gets plenty of those. But remember, follow us on Twitter at UncSamSoccerPod. Tweet us your questions for any of the candidates. Maybe we'll ask them during one of our interviews. Or tweet us a question.
Sure, tweet us. Yeah, tweet us.
Stephen Jodrin.
We'll announce when we get a candidate on, we'll announce it, and we expect tweets to be sent out of us so we can ask a couple of y'all's questions.
And shout out to the newest member of Uncle Sam's Soccer Pod, Jake. He's going to do a lot of the work